WESWES, y'all.
I think it's also indicative of, again, what the advent of professionalism in rugby and becoming a TV product. You want to sell to audiences, so it's got to be fast. The game has to be fast. Players have to be fast. And when you watch the difference between, say it's a Super Rugby game and a club game, you can see the difference in speed, the slower pass or the slower players, and that's not appealing. And I guess that's sort of one of the criticisms around female sport. And not that I'm a big fan of female sport. I've coached a lot of women's rugby teams and girls rugby teams, but it's just as a product or watching it as a spectacle, it's not as fast. But they've got good skills and all that sort of stuff, but it's the speed because the athletes aren't as big, as strong, as fast. In comparison to each other, they can match each other. But if you compare a men's game to a women's game, well, then you can see the difference in speed. Yeah, so it's and then I see more recently with the I think the World Swimming Association sort of kicked off this push towards pushing back against sort of trans athletes performing in women's sports. And so, did you see that about the trans? Yep. So again, they've made that commitment. Oh, they've basically said, well, instead of having biological men compete in women's sports, like Leah Thomas, for example, well, no, have your own division, and then go hard. You can compete in that. I think the rugby league have just confirmed they're doing the same thing, and then netball, and I think even athletics are starting to look into that. So I think we talked about it probably that first podcast we have. Are we going to see a trans division in different sports? I think we would.
Yeah, rather than
again biological men competing against women. Because again, the obvious advantages for biological men, and I think the new rule is if they've transitioned, and this is probably the scarier part, is if they've transitioned before they were 12, then they can compete. But if they've gone through puberty, a full course of puberty, and developed as a biological male, they'll still have that. Like said Leah Thomas, and I guess we can use her example because we're talking about swimming. She still has that advantage, even though she's gone through all the hormone replacement therapy and treatment to bring her testosterone levels down. It's still going to be high. She still has bones. Yeah. And I mean, it would be a bit like I'm heading towards 50, but say I wanted to play rugby again and I was all of a sudden identified as a woman. Well, if that's my reality and I go and start playing against, in women's rugby, I'd be pretty handy, but that's going to disadvantage all the women that want to play.
I see what you mean about the trans thing, because you were talking just a few seconds ago about the spectacle of women's rugby. You get a trans competition going.
We'll be watching.
Yeah, because it's a lot faster.
Because it's faster. Yeah, hard. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about, again, NBA, WNBA. When you watch the NBA and you compare it to the women's NBA, there's no comparison because you got such a difference in speed. And that's not to say that women's basketball women's sport is important for women, because women should be able to play it. They should be able to compete on an equal playing field. That's what sport's supposed to be, a level playing field. Now, obviously, if it's professionalism and other people are going to have advantage, and you have salary caps and all that sort of stuff, but you still want to see, because then it encourages people to stay healthy. And for those people that one day watch, I want to be a black fern, or I want to be, whatever it is, it still gives them that incentive to keep playing sport, to attain that level, to reach that level, so that they can, fulfill a dream or whatever it is. So you want women's sport, but it needs to be protected. It needs to be protected so that women can keep playing, and have if you're going to have if you're going to have enough players, and it's a bit tricky in team sports, right? Because are you going to have enough players to have a trans Super Rugby competition? Maybe with the way they're going, sexualizing children and bringing all that content into schools, maybe because enough people will transition early enough. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the only way they do that. But man, that's scary in itself. Like doing that in schools, like if they encourage under 12s to choose now, because after you're 12, then it's too late. Your options go down.
Yeah. If you're encouraging, and again, that's I guess where the sort of the backlash over the last probably year and a bit has come, where people are pulling their kids out of school and saying, I don't want my child to be exposed. If anyone's going to teach them about sex, that's going to be me.